We're seeing a massive shift in the podcast guesting space. And right now, more than anything, you need to be relevant and you need to be collaborative. Stop thinking in transactions and what you can get and start thinking, how can I be this host's best partner? You are listening to Amplify Your Success Podcast, episode 425. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about a massive shift I'm seeing in podcast guesting and the strategy required to continue to successfully borrow these visibility streams to grow your business. You ready for this? Let's get started. Welcome to the Amplify Your Success Podcast. Get ready to ramp up your revenue, amplify your impact, and make your mark in the world. This is the show for experts, thought leaders, and service professionals who want to shatter their limits and achieve that next level. You're going to find out from other experts and influencers how they made it. Now, let's get amplified. Hey there, inspired entrepreneurs and business leaders. It's your host, Melanie Benson. And today I'm going to talk about something that I've been watching kind of on the sidelines. Well, not really sidelines because, hey, I'm in it, but I've just been kind of in this watching mode, witnessing conversations and noticing changes in what my peers and partners who, we kind of cross swap podcast bookings, and it's changing. And what used to really move the needle is not necessarily moving the needle. And I'm also seeing in my own booking, when I'm grateful that people want to be on my show, but I've dramatically changed what I will accept as a guest on my show now. So how is this going to play out and how is this going to affect you, right? Well, first of all, let me share a resource with you. This is a resource I've had for a while, and if you don't have it yet, you're a new part of our Amplify community. I want to encourage you to go and download it, or if you forgot where you put it, go get it again. This is my 17 mistakes that guest experts make that cost them the lead and the client. And this is a scorecard that I highly recommend that you revisit at least every 90 days and really look at how you're showing up as a guest. Because how you show up as a guest is not just influencing your success, but I got to tell you, I'm seeing this ripple effect of how it's playing out for the collective strategy. So head over to melaniebenson.com/scorecard, download this, read it, score yourself. And hey, if you notice that you really want to up your game this year and you're ready to be the best podcast guest and really amplify your authority, let's talk. I want to make sure that you and I work together to help you really stand out online, stop being a best kept secret. And the way I do that is through my Authority Accelerator program. So I'll link that up in the show notes for you. You can apply at any time. However, we only do 2 live experiences a year. Now, I want to go into what I've been noticing. As I mentioned, I have longtime relationships with a lot of show hosts, and I started to recognize in my own business that I was feeling some discontent with having guest experts on the show. Now, here's a kind of a double-edged sword. When you have a really successful show, we're in the top 1% on listen notes. You're going to get pitched by a lot of PR agencies. You're going to have a lot of booking agencies add you to their roster. And again, I'm glad it does help people find the show. And I take very few of those. For someone to cut through the noise, they've got to have a lighthouse message that I think is really aligned. I think I got to see that there's value, but I'm also looking for people to contribute. I've made a massive pivot in my own desires for guests. I have so many guests that I know personally that I would love to spotlight. I don't have a lot of space. You're going to see more solo episodes coming from me because as we've been talking to our listener base and we're kind of checking out what people want, they want to hear from me. And so, kind of like we'll have some side dishes, other experts that I think can contribute to the conversation in a meaningful way, but they're not going to be the main meal anymore, if you will, going with that analogy. And I'm not alone. I'm seeing more and more and more hosts turn the tides. And if they don't have a personal relationship and there's not a collaboration, there's not a win-win possibility and co-creating the opportunity together, we're like, well, I don't really need it. So what does that do for the people who want to be on shows and maybe don't have the authority? Well, first of all, I think this problem, if you will, is creating massive opportunity for you. I really believe that every shift, every transformation, every breakdown creates a breakthrough opportunity. And we're seeing this right now. So let's go a little deeper into what's happening for show hosts. First of all, let's just talk turkey. Let's get real for a minute. It takes money to run a show. Okay. Yes. It's part of my marketing strategy. Yes. It's part of my leadership positioning. Yes. It's part of my authority, but it still requires money. And I put so much care into the topics, into the how we share the show, where we share the show, how often we share the show. And I have cultivated you, my community, an audience that I deeply care for. And I want your trust. I want your respect. I want your I want to continue to nurture our relationship, if you will. And so I have to be really, really conscientious of who I put in front of you. They have to bring the right values, the right energy, a message that is complementary to mine. And I have to believe in who they are and what they do. If somebody's pitching me, I don't always know that it's going to be a good fit. So that's one thing. And I'm seeing this across the board. Secondly, because it requires money to run a show, we have to figure out how to monetize our effort. Look, if you're not in business and you're not monetizing your strategies, you probably have a business with a lot of profit leaks. And I realize that's going to ruffle some feathers. Some people are doing their podcast just because they love it. And I love that for you. But why do we have so much pod fade? Because people haven't figured out how to monetize their investment in their podcast or their show. So how do you monetize your show? One of four ways, typically. You're either transforming your listener base into paying clients. I do get people who listen to the show to raise their hand and say, hey, how do I work with you? You guys book a consultation with me. You join my Authority Accelerator. You buy one of my online programs from time to time, right? So that does happen. A second way that people do it, this has not been a path I've taken, is people can get paid sponsors. I'm not getting into sponsorship here. That's a whole thing that I don't do. But what I know is many people are getting either a episode spot or a somebody who you have an affiliate link, and so you're going to get revenue when people buy it. That's a long path to money. Most of the people that have tried that will tell you straight out they maybe get 50 cents, maybe a couple $100. That's not really going to cover the investment of the show. So sponsors is a path to monetization, but it's not always an easy path, and not every show is sponsor ready. The third one, and this is not my approach, but I know a lot of people that are, is they're transforming guest experts into paying clients. So the people that come on their show, their pure reason for having the podcast is because they want you as their client. Now, do I, from time to time, have my guest experts become my clients? Yeah, sometimes. Again, it's not my core focus. It does happen. I'm very honored when it does. Oftentimes, what I'm looking more into is what else can we do together as experts that can collaborate and open up more strategic relationship, right? So how else can we cross promote? That's more what I look for. I think this can become a huge ick factor. And as a matter of fact, because we book clients from Authority Accelerator onto podcasts, and we sometimes get referrals to podcasts, or I get pitched to be on shows, I'm seeing this more and more, where people are saying, if you want to be, so they'll pitch and say, hey, we want to have you on my show. The person applies. Next thing they know, they're like, oh, there's actually a fee to be on this show. Now, full disclosure, we have at times offered guest experts who do not have the reach to be a sponsored guest on the show. I don't do it very often. I am not going to sacrifice quality to have somebody on the show, but there have been times where it was a really good win-win. It's not a lot of money. At the most, we were doing $200 just to cover production costs at the time. What I'm seeing is people charging thousands. And the interesting thing is a lot of these shows, outside of a couple really big name ones, which you probably know of, these are people who they are not developing the show reach. They are literally you are paying for the illusion of visibility. And it's not a good ROI. So I typically steer my clients away unless I know the show has a good reach and they've got a solid listener base and there's actually potential there for them to get an ROI. So not my favorite strategy. It has a lot of complicated energy around it. It's definitely super controversial in the industry. Now, a fourth option is just simply a paid placement to be a guest on the show, which I just mentioned we've done that. So rather than trying to transform a guest expert into a paying client, you actually have them a paid placement to be on their show. So as I mentioned, it's kind of a little off. I just explained it actually as part of number 3, so I'm not going to go through it again. But if this practice is not divulged up front, I think it's icky. I don't actually go pitch people to be on my show and then say, hey, now you got to pay. I don't like that. I do think that it's okay if it's up front, like, hey, you're paying to be on the show. Like John Lee Dumas, his Entrepreneur on Fire, and I don't know if he's still doing this, but for a while, like, he was pretty straight out. Like, you want to be on the show, there's a fee. He also had millions of people listening to his show. And I know other very well-known show hosts do the same thing. Okay, so yes, it makes sense. It's marketing. You're paying to have access to an audience you can't get any other way. This is very common. This is what Facebook ads are. Okay. So know that these are how people are going to monetize their podcast guesting. Now, if you want to be a guest on other people's shows, and you've heard me talk about the benefit of borrowing other people's audiences, how on earth are you going to navigate this change in the industry? And like, okay, so I want to do this. What do I do? Right? I'm not going to pay thousands of dollars to be on a show. Here's where I think the opportunity is. First of all, stop thinking of this as taking, or like thinking of this as like you're getting visibility, but you have nothing that you're contributing. If you're not contributing financially, then you need to start getting creative and think, how can I contribute in another way? Okay, can you contribute your audience? When I take people through my Authority Accelerator program, or you do my on-demand guest expert system, one of my bottom lines is do not just interview and run. Don't ghost the host. Ooh, there's a good catchphrase, right? Don't ghost the host. What you want to do is you want to be a good guest, collaborate, figure out how to bring your listener base to the conversation you two created. Give them visibility. How can you invite them to something you're doing, right? Promote the episode like it's your own. Give generously visibility. Don't just let the host do all the work. This is why, a primary reason why I think this is all breaking down. The guests are getting pitched. They're spending thousands of dollars with PR agencies. The PR agencies are booking people on shows. The guest just shows up, delivers the conversations, and think, I've done my job. They're not sharing it. They're not collaborating. They're not offering anything in return. And so it's very out of balance. And I like to think there's a mindset shift that's required here. Position yourself as a partner. Okay, you want to stand out amongst all of the pitches. Don't go in like, hey, I've got this great topic and I think it'll be great on your show. And like, I don't have any reach. I don't share the episodes. Like, you would be fortunate to have me on your show, right? Like, that's out. Old school, old paradigm, not going to cut it. What is fresh and powerful and opportunity is position yourself as a partner. As a matter of fact, I have adapted my Authority Accelerator to bring this in more and more because I'm seeing this is what's moving the needle right now. Is like to think as a partner. What else is possible? How can you add value? How can you do some joint promotions? How can you cross market each other? How can you give visibility to that person? Don't be a taker, be a partner. And this goes across all partnering arrangements, but particularly if we want to continue to see the guest expert marketplace thriving and people still saying yes, figure out how you can add value to that host beyond the conversation. Your great topic isn't enough. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. This is probably going to ruffle some feathers. I get it. But I am making a stand for growing this industry so the win-win opportunities continue to emerge. And it's not a weight on the host to carry the burden, but we're equally figuring out how can we leverage this very powerful momentum in the podcasting world? How can we continue to create win-win? And how can, we can continue to serve our communities through the podcast, right? So be a giver, be generous, be a partner, stand out, continue to deliver great value. And hey, if you need help with this, definitely check out my Authority Accelerator program. I is one of the most powerful containers to help you stand out, stop being a best kept secret, and really shine brightly as a powerful, impact driven guide on this planet. Thanks for tuning in today, Amplifier. We're going to keep this conversation going, and I want to hear from you how you're going to amplify your authority and make a greater impact. Before you go, please take a minute to give our show and our guests some love over on your favorite podcasting platform. Subscribe, rate, and review. Leave your full name, and I'll spotlight you and your authority on social media.